the metaphor around like the holes in the armor, because there's guys in that room that have no armor on. It's really about liability and protecting your profit, your cash flow, your sanity, and your brand. What's up?
What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
You're looking pretty sharp in that harness shirt.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, I like it.
I swapped my shirt out.
As well you should.
On stage.
It's brand new.
No, I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, live audience, here we go. We are 8th Contractor Coalition. When you started the first one with you, Brad, and Morgan, I mean, in your wildest dreams or nightmares, which one is it?
No, I don't have nightmares. Man, I remember some of the early phone calls. Like, it was just such a super interesting idea, and I was like, man, this would be so cool. Like, people would definitely be interested. Like, we knew that there would be interest, and when we sold it out, that was kind of surreal. And Morgan, being Morgan, was like, all right, where are we going next? And I was like, I'm trying to catch my breath. Like, truthfully, I wasn't ready to like even think about playing another one. And then it turned into every 6 months. And now we're at the 8th, and it's crazy. I feel the same way going into every one of them, where I have this anxiety of like not performing and delivering. And within 3 hours of being up there, it's like, all right, like the crew's good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the content, you mentioned before too, it continues to evolve, and you've mentioned several times, even today, it keeps you sharp.
I can't tell someone how to do something or how I do something unless I'm confident in the way I do it. And it's like, they're doing a peanut butter and jelly thing right now. It's like, if I told someone, oh yeah, like the way I make a peanut butter and jelly is I put my hand in the peanut butter jar and I spread it with my hands, and be like, what the hell are you talking about? So it keeps me sharp, and truthfully, as my business grows, I find a lot of enjoyment in building the architecture around our process. And that is pushing me to constantly like evolve our process back home, and then I bring it here, and it's like, hey, this is what we've improved. And I mean, I was sitting in our little conference room this morning, updating the contract slide. I was like, man, like we've been doing this for 8 years. It's always continued to evolve, but you know what? There's more I want to talk about, and that's why we talk so much about every exhibit that I had in my contract, because they've evolved and they're really important to that process.
I think none of us are static, right? We're constantly evolving, both as people, or family, or businesses, life, all of those things. I've appreciated like some of the stories specifically about contracts where, when we go through either a lawsuit or a difficult time with a client or a project manager or like whatever it is, or we hear a story, it causes us to say like, hey, there's a hole in my armor. There's a hole in my defenses, and it causes you to, sharpen that up. I really appreciate, and I think so many people do, specifically the story that you've shared a number of times now, because it's so succinct in your point about, which is not this question being succinct, is really about all the errors that you had in not having self-defined your labor rates and how a client took advantage of you on purpose. Yeah. And it was really eye-opening the first time I heard that. It caused me to go back, just like everyone else in that room. They went and looked at their contracts and said, am I protected? And I think by sharing our failures, sharing our faults, sharing how we're evolving, helps shore up the defenses so someone else doesn't have to go through that.
It's interesting, like the metaphor around like the holes in the armor, because there's guys in that room that have no armor on. And so, everything we're talking about is just an immediate improvement. And the guys that have the holes in the armor, they could continue to be in the battlefield and never, be an issue, because, you have to have the perfect alignment of, the shot, right? So for us, we had a hole in the armor and direct shot right where that hole was, and, our contract blew up. So what we talk about is, someone said this is very commercial based, and it is, but it's really about liability and protecting your profit, your cash flow, your sanity, and your brand. And they're robust documents. There's a lot of work in them. They're 40-something pages long, but it's not like, I'm not saying that as like, yeah, ours is better because it's 40 pages. It's just, No, it's evolved over the course of the last 5 years, and we know that this is something that is. I mean, we're still evolving with it. Like when we run into something with a client, we go through a red line, we realize, hey, this is a better way to do this. We update it. I mean, it's literally like 1% better every single day. But yeah, I mean, it's, we want to give these tools, and I think about, we've spent tens of thousands of dollars, just on that one agreement, just going back and forth with a lawyer and losing and writing checks to clients, and and to be able to share that with a group of people, like, hey, here's your head start.
Mm-hmm. No, it's super helpful. I mean, one of the things that we often don't talk enough about, and I know we had our planning meeting, yesterday for a couple hours, and we talked about how can we provide value not only to our alumni, but for those that would seek to come to Contractor Coalition Summit in the future. And one of the big things is, all of the, we provide the Dropbox of all the slides, the contracts, all the things that you and Brad and Morgan, Tyler and myself have developed for years, what works, what doesn't work, to give people a head start. And I had someone come up to me after, and they said, because I think they got the Dropbox link before they even got here.
Yeah.
They said before I even got here, they said this is already worth every penny, and I haven't even got there yet.
Yeah.
Just by that alone.
Right.
When you hear something like that, how does that make you feel, or how does that sort of coincide with what your mission is personally within the Contractor Coalition Summit structure?
When I started my company, and I would research and ask people, like, how do you do this, and can you share your contract, or can you share this, or what are you doing for, and it was never a simple answer, and I think the ability to share those, just hearing that, honestly solidifies what we're doing, and the fact that alone is valuable enough for that individual and probably other individuals, that everything else is just kind of cherry on top. It's great, because ultimately I want them to, I guess when I think deeper about that question, what I appreciate about it is that they get to now be here fully immersed, rather than wondering when the value has been filled. And because I've been to events before where I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, when do I feel like my cup's filled? And hearing that, it's like, oh, the cup's filled. Like, all right, now it's time to party, and let's walk through it and make sure that you don't just get them, but you understand them, and you can go home and implement them. Some
meaningful conversations that you've had, even at this one, whether it's something that was shared in that opening night where we sort of changed the format, or we wanted to create an icebreaker to sort of speed up, compress time, versus at the end, in the beginning. If we could break down the walls quicker, we could allow builders and the entrepreneurs to get in deeper with each other. And so at the end of the first night kickoff, we had a 40-minute kind of open mic. People were encouraged to share the most difficult thing that had happened to them in their career. Hearing what people shared, how did that impact you, or what do you think about the things that you heard? Kind of the cliche idea that entrepreneurship is lonely, and the fact that it doesn't have to be is, that's why we started the Modern Craftsman podcast 8 years ago. That's why, we've done the events that we've done, and that's why ultimately we have this event today. And it is the ability to kind of openly talk about the struggles and issues that we all face in an environment that it's not judged upon. You think about social media, like you can't be promoting the fact that, I had a super that had something fly off the roof and almost kill someone, thankfully didn't, but I can't be promoting that, because it's like, okay, that guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It's like, well, no, it was just a really bad situation that, thank God that everything ended up okay and we dealt with it. But, that isn't, there's not a lot of formats that you can talk about that and then open up the dialogue amongst other people where it's like, I actually went through that too, and I actually didn't know how to deal with the situation. I wanted to fire the super, and I didn't know how to do that. And it's like, hey, I've been through this. Are you going through it? If you are, like, where's your head at? This is where my head was at. This is how I dealt with the situation. But
But then it's like the simple things where it's like, the holes in the armor. Hey, I changed this one thing and it has saved me $500,000.
I'm curious to see your reaction to it, if it's where I'm at or if you feel it too. I feel this is the most emotional Contractor Coalition I've been to in terms of the stories that have been shared and some of the feelings that have been emoted in between and even from the platform. Have you felt that or not necessarily?
The depth of emotion comes with time and comfort. And you think about just any relationship, like as you become more comfortable around someone, you share more and you kind of internally test that, where it's like, I wonder if I can share this and see what the reaction is. So yeah, I think that open mic, kudos, I believe it was your idea. So that open mic was this opportunity to, kind of break down the walls and be like, hey man, like I'm not perfect. And then it seemed to like, snowball down the hill pretty fast.
The people that went in the beginning were like, well, my story wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Compared to that at the end.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Some heavy stuff.
Yeah. But that just, again, it's the snowball light, right? So you get that momentum and then you hopefully catch it before it becomes an emotional train wreck. But I think there's a lot more emotion behind just what we go through and what we do. And it's not this, at the end of the day, there's so many different ways to look at struggle and difficulties. And I don't, I'm not someone that likes to complain. And I'm certainly not sharing to complain. It's more just, hey, I've been through this, it sucks. Like, there's been days it's been real dark, but I don't dwell on that, and I don't allow that to kind of take over my mind, because I have I think an interesting perspective on life and risk and what I'm doing and why I do it. And there's days I have to remind myself, like out loud, like, Nick, like this sucks right now, but this is part of that, the bigger thing. And I think that's what the benefit of being open and more emotional has.
I agree with you. I think it's more about camaraderie than it is about whinging or complaining. I think it's more about fellowship and having each other's stories sort of resonate, with us. And I think, the word fellowship, as I understand it, was like, take the, in Christopher Columbus, let's say, and was it the Santa Maria and the Mayflower? Like there were 3 ships, right? I can't remember what the Pinta. The Pinta, Santa Marina, and whatever the other one was. But anyway, they're fellow ships. The point is, each ship still had to sail there, but they're there to protect each other and go through it. And like the same storms that buffeted one buffeted the other. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, we're all sort of in different seasons of life, but like it's very relatable. And I think it's oddly enough, it's comforting and encouraging. So many people have come up to me specifically after a certain thing. Like I just gave that Boundaries Create Freedom one, and a man came up to me and he started crying. And he said, what you shared is something that I went through a couple of years ago. And he had this really, deep story. And he just said, thank you for sharing. At the time that I went through that, I had to make some really tough choices, and that it brought back to memory those things. And like for me, like when I shared was personal to me, but it elicited a response from him. And there's some camaraderie, there's some depth there. And what I get the most out of the community is just seeing how people, you can see the confidence almost emote out of their body. You can see the positive energy, and I give you a lot of credit because I think you do this a lot with White Oak, and the other, our other peers do as well. But like a vision that attracts other people to be the best version of themselves. Everything we're doing here is not meant to be discouraging. It's encouraging. It's supposed to be aspirational, and everyone is very available. Have there been parts of your vision that you've had people come up to you and say, hey, you've inspired me to do this, or this is what your leadership or vision has helped me do?
Yeah, and it's super humbling because I've had people just straight up say, like, you've changed my entire career. Just like on a comment I've made, or, 45 White Oak is so unique in that, where it is, I think a lot of people are looking at it as this, a couple builders said last night, like, where everyone's rooting for this. and it's this opportunity to change the industry. It's this opportunity to rewrite what ultra luxury looks like. It's the opportunity to push forward with real craftsmanship. And like part of me is just like, I'm just doing my job. Like, this is what I said I would do. I'm doing it. And the other part of me is like, fuck yeah. Like, I am doing this, and it is a success, and it will just continue to have this impact on the industry, which is wild to me. But I've seen individuals just be totally course corrected in their career because of a project like that.
I think the key, as your friend and as a colleague, I think, and this is true, I think, of a lot of visions, when it's intrinsic, when it's your drive, you don't do it for those things, but because you're doing the thing for yourself, it has the effect that helps raise everyone. And I think to me, that's what's aspirational. To me, that's what's inspirational to other people, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, nothing would make you happier if another person was to emulate some of the things that you're practicing, because we're trying to, but that's not your goal. Your goal is to do the thing that means a lot to you, and no different than like when Brad first came and said like, hey, there's like 6 builders from Arizona coming to the first Contractor Coalition. He's like, we're sharing our sworn construction statement or contract. Like, I don't know, maybe I just put myself out of business. But like, by modeling the behavior that it's not the practice or even the craft, it's the person, it's the vision, that's what attracts people to your business. And honestly, everybody benefits from it. That message is such a strong rally cry. What has it meant, to you over the last couple of years, and how has it inspired you?
I mean, in a lot of ways, I think the number one thing is that it's like I have someone chasing me all the time, and I just appreciate that. Years ago, I spoke at this conference, and it was a big machinery conference. I don't even know why I was invited, to be totally honest. But I sat up on a board, and there was a bunch of like big CEOs up there. I was young at the time. This was like maybe 10 years ago. And I was talking about social media and the power of sharing what I know. And the CEO of a really big hardware company came up to me, and he was like, I disagree with you. I said, what do you mean? And he goes, we have patented, designs, and I would never give my competitor the design. And I was like, but if you did, wouldn't you control the narrative on how quickly they would compete with you? And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, you give them the blueprints of that hardware, and they go and do it, and you know that they're working on it. Right now, you're wondering if they've bought one and they're dissecting it in their shop.
What did he say?
And he retracted his comment. And he was like, I didn't think of it that way. And so that's what I've always done is I'll give you everything I do. The reality is, like, in some unfortunate way, like 1 out of 10 people will try, but I'll give it to you. You do it. I'm gonna do it. You share, and it's not it. There's the balance of like, I want someone to be like, I'm gonna do a 45 wood oak, but the other part of me is like, but I'm gonna do one better, and I'm very competitive in that sense. But I don't want people to lose at the. I think Vaynerchuk said it like, I'm not interested in being the tallest building by knocking other buildings down. I just want to continue to build a bigger building. So I'll build the tallest building.
That's a great quote.
Yeah, I'll build the tallest building, and then someone else will be like, I'll build 101 stories. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna build 102. Like, I don't want to knock it down to be the tallest.
I mean, I think the evolution and knowing that other people are watching, keeping you at the edge of the spear, not only specifically about white oak, but about whatever your craft is. Any industry, it's relatable. And if you don't innovate, if you don't create, it's game over. I think of like, I know you and I both love to look outside our industry for inspiration, but BlackBerry, Palm Pilot, it wasn't that very long ago.
I loved my BlackBerry.
I know, that little rollerball was pretty sweet.
When they switched to the pad.
Yeah, I don't think I went with the pad. I think I just stayed with the rollerball.
That was when iPhone came on, I was like anti-iPhone.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
I mean, and now you're like, who's got the green text?
Yeah.
But like the point of it is you can be the top, and in a very short while you couldn't. And I think about people like in my home market when I talk about collaboration over competition, which I very much believe in. And we're not threatened by sharing of information, because at the end of the day, your clients are buying your vision, and even if you know all the recipe, it still takes a colossal amount of focus and energy and willpower. Even if you had all of those things, they're not going to build 45 White Oak, for an example. That's not, so like, it's not that you're afraid of it. It's really, and if they did it, it would only make you push the building higher. It would only make you perform even better, which I know you like pressure. You would enjoy that. Yeah. You would probably even love it if someone was like, I'm doing 73 Black Oak. Like,
right. I'm going 20 million.
Yeah, I'm going 20 million. Like, great, okay.
It's like I'm currently raising 40.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the point is, we can find all. It actually reminds me of Michael Jordan. Well, remember, he would make up narratives that didn't exist just to motivate himself.
That's something we can.
You know who Michael Jordan is,
but I also know the docu-series. Yes. Like, that was a great one.
It was. Yeah. I mean, I love finding inspiration outside of our industry, and I think it's really helpful that we think of our community and our field. Yes, we are builders, and we love architecture, we love design, we love building. But we're entrepreneurs, and if we lose sight of that, we can't do the one thing without the other. And the stronger this becomes, the stronger this brand becomes too. Looking in the future, where do you see? What would you like to see the Contractor Coalition either become or continue to have a trajectory of where it's going? Like, what would be meaningful, or what would be something that you set your eyes on and like, that would be really amazing if we could achieve this?
My gut reaction to that question would be that we are actually helping people implement more than just share and teach, to the point where the people, and that is not that everyone becomes a $10 million a year builder. That's not the goal, but that everyone builds a really sustainable business that allows them the profit and cash flow that they deserve, and the reduced chaos and the life that they deserve. And that is done through community, that is done through constant refinement, that is done through continuing education. It's a community. That's the goal. Is like we build this community, and we continue to help everyone grow. And what that looks like in the future is way more than it is today. But what it is like specifically, I don't know what that means.
I mean, along those lines, you talk about community. It's pretty sticky. I mean, you look at
it's pretty sticky.
It's super sticky. I mean, You look at like the relationships that we have. I mean, not only just you and I, because I started as an attendee, but I look at all the number of alumni that we have that keep coming back. So I just sat down with Slade from Arizona. This is his third one in a row. Yeah. And he's just like banging them out. And he's like, I keep on just the Kaizen, 1%, just getting better and better. And I love what Mike Weaver shared about time compression. And he talked about by like having the documents that we share, or having everything we're doing is compressing time, so we can catapult our businesses and our lives and the things that we hope to do in a shorter period of time. Because that time is the one thing, of course, that we all have and equal, that sand's running out on life. And I know you've felt it before. You've talked about whether it's legacy or kind of like this. We find all kinds of different buckets that sort of inspire us. Sometimes it's competition, sometimes it's ourselves, sometimes it's life, time, kids, whatever it is. And I love hearing people in our community sort of share what their passions are, what drives them. And sometimes like, oh yeah, I didn't think about it that way. And so I think we get equal parts inspiration. Here we are as a leadership, inspiring people. But I have to be honest, like, I am so inspired by the people that show up. Are there any stories that have sort of resonated with you? They're like, wow, I just, in a way that...
I mean, a lot, which is a cop-out answer, but yesterday someone shared with me that they 10x'd their revenue since they yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and that was a pretty surreal comment. And I was like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, 10 times the amount of revenue. And it was just because, and I think it was mainly attributed to the confidence. And I was like, I love that. Like, it was just, because we all lack that confidence, especially in the beginning, and for a long time, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I was just relentless with asking people, how you do this, how do you do that? And then when I found opportunities to educate myself or learn from other people, it was just soak it up, soak it up, soak it up. And back to the 1%, like, just how do I get better every day? How do I improve something a little bit every day? Because 100 days later, it's like you're 100% better. And that's that's the power of compounding. So I think that was top of mind, like most recent, like the fact that someone was able to do, oh yeah, I 10x'd.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's a pretty good return.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Good to see you.
If you're interested in attending the Contractor Coalition in the future, please head to contractorcoalitionsummit.com or follow us on Instagram to find out more.